When I moved to Australia, I thought I understood the accent. I'd watched enough Neighbours and Home and Away growing up. I knew no wuckers, I could do a passable g'day, probably, and I was pretty confident. Then I started travelling around Australia, and I realised I had no idea what I was talking about. Hearing Sydney locals speak in their accent compared to how someone would speak in Adelaide sounded completely different, and it's funny because even Aussies have told me, "We've only got one accent here, mate," and I thought surely that can't be true. And so it made me think, with Perth being so far west in such a gigantic continent, what did their accent sound like? And honestly, that's what we're going to be unpacking for the first time in this video today, which I'm really excited. If anyone's wondering what website I'm using, it's called DialectsArchive.com. It's incredible for anyone who is moving to a country and wants to master the accent. Great for performers and actors, actually so many of them, but we're going to go with Australia 32, male.
Well, here's a story for you. Sarah Perry was a veterinary nurse who had been working daily at an old zoo in a deserted district of the Territory. So she was very happy to start a new job at a superb private practice in North Square near the Duke Street Tower.
Okay. I know this is from 1993, and even in the space of, 5 years, I think an accent can change. If anyone says to you, Australia doesn't have multiple accents, in my opinion, they're wrong. Might be controversial, but I can hear a very distinctively different accent in this, and I absolutely love it. By the way, if you haven't seen the previous video in this series, it's linked up there. Save it to watch after. That's where we listened to the Adelaide accent, which sounded really, really British. But I'm finding this Perth accent really interesting. I did think in my head, will Perth sound a bit more British being, more west?
Even so, on her first morning, she felt stressed. She had a bowl of porridge, checked herself in the mirror, and what?
This accent to me sounds really well spoken. I like how, obviously, depending on the personality, the accent can change as well, depending on if you're more extroverted or introverted. But it feels very confident, I know what I'm talking about. And I don't need to overemphasize and overpronounce words to, sound more extravagant.
Washed her face in a hurry. Then she put on...
Hurry. Whereas I feel like Queenslanders, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm used to hearing in Queensland people pronounce it like hurry, like that. And so, hurry. It's kind of like take the Aussie accent and make it a bit more posh.
Put on a plain yellow dress and a fleece jacket, picked up her kid.
Jacket. So I'm getting really soft vowel sounds here. Like when I have been studying the Brisbane accent, I find that the vowel sounds are a little bit more harsh, a little bit more emphasized, and a little bit more twangy. There are some actors who say that if you want to speak in an Australian accent, just be really nasally. And I don't think that's the case at all, because if you meet a real Australian, they don't all speak like they're pushing their nostrils together. It's more to do with where the vowel shapes sit in the mouth. I'm not a linguist or a dialect coach. This is just the sort of stuff that I was taught at uni when I was doing my acting degree, and the sort of stuff that you kind of listen out for when you're developing an accent for a role.
There was a woman with a goose waiting for her. The woman gave Sarah an official letter from the vet. The letter implied that the animal could be suffering from a rare form of foot and mouth disease, which was surprising.
I am getting quite a few British vowel sounds from this. A lot of the Aussies I meet have some sort of British family or friends, so this is really interesting.
Because normally you would only expect to see it in a dog or a goat. Sarah was sentimental, so this made her feel sorry for the beautiful bird.
Okay, so now we're diving into it a little bit more. How he was pronouncing sort of dog or goat, and obviously I'm overdoing it there, but I think it's quite interesting that he's kind of almost really joining the words together a lot more. Not slurring his words, but borderline. I don't think that's a bad thing. Some people, elocution people will probably tell you that's very poor. I think it's really cool actually, because when you're talking to someone and they join their words together, so it sounds smooth, essentially, it relaxes you more psychologically, and I feel like it builds up a bit of a stronger connection. This might sound very silly right now, I understand that, but that's why I love talking to Aussies. By the way, I've done a full-length video where I react to the Melbourne accent, and it is exclusively out on my Patreon, so if you want to go watch that, there's a QR code here, or it's in the link in the description below.
Comma, which Sarah thought was an odd choice for a name. Comma was strong and huge, so it would take some force to trap her. Sarah had a different idea. First she tried...
There's quite a lot of sibilance on his S's, but that might just be a personal thing, Training in commercial and video game voiceover, I learned that people sort of have more sibilant S's, that sound that comes through more.
Once Sarah had managed to bathe the goose, she wiped her off with a cloth and lay her on her right side.
It's such a gentle voice and it's such a gentle accent. And, you know, I feel like this person would be great at reading audiobooks or something. There's something very relaxing and calming about that. So that's really interesting hearing the Perth accent, honestly, for the first time. It's kind of like you've got the best of both worlds. It's not full on Adelaidean. Is that the word for someone from Adelaide? But it's also not full broad Australia, you know? A little bit more contained, but then as he relaxes, he kind of strings the words together a little bit more. The way it rolls off the tongue quite naturally is really nice to listen to. I don't know if I sound really pretentious right now. If I do apologise. Okay, this is interesting. We've got Australia 5, female, 26, 1973, Egyptian, Perth. I find that you can pick up an accent a lot faster if you listen to a range of accents from a range of different people, especially different ages, because if you're moving countries at all, you will probably pick up a few twangs of that local area. So let's have a listen.
When the sunlight strikes raindrops in the air, they act as a prism and form a rainbow. The rainbow is a division of white light into many beautiful colours. These take the shape of a long round arch with its...
Long round arch. Wow, that's beautiful. Now, this was recorded in 1999, and it could be that maybe people in Perth, 1999, were more well-spoken then. If you're from Perth, let me know. Do people still speak like this? Because this is very well-spoken.
Path high above, and its two ends apparently beyond the horizon.
Wow, this sounds really British to me.
There is, according to legend, a boiling pot of gold at one end. People look, but no one ever finds it. When a man looks for something beyond his reach, his friends say he's...
I'm really enjoying listening to this because this person seems to be enunciating their consonants a little bit more than I typically hear in Queensland. The consonants, I feel like, usually get dropped in the Queenslander accent, you know, like better, water, faster. Oh, I kind of pronounced it then. But she's really pronouncing the sort of K's and the T's and the P's. And yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
I grew up in Perth, Western Australia. My parents are Egyptian. I was born in Australia and raised in Australia, as were my sisters.
Australia. And I love that with the Aussie accent, there's lots of diphthongs, you know, sort of vowels, multiple vowel sounds in one almost, the sort of Australia.
From every country you can possibly think of, modified probably also by the time they come to Australia and forget about the way it's actually done, so modified and...
Whoa, this is, I mean, accent aside, this is a really cool story to hear. That's why I love this website, because the recordings generally start off with them reading the same sort of transcript, I guess, you know, to hear the classic vowel sounds. And then there's a bit of an interview and they talk about themselves. That kind of roots you in your natural accent a little bit more. When you talk about something very personal to you, it's almost like your body follows that, and therefore your voice being, you know, one of the muscles in it.
Like the males, the whales migrating from Antarctica, they come across the coast. We see them, the dolphins and...
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of her dialogue, not that I can see her, is in the sort of front of the mouth a little bit more. You know, I was always taught with the Australian accent, it's not quite at the back of the neck, it's not at the front of the mouth, it's kind of more in the middle of the two, whereas an American accent, it's like right back here. Perth people, are you just real posh? Oh, we don't have a date for this one. Okay, but the person was born in 1984.
Well, here's a story for you. Sarah Perry was a veterinary nurse. He had been working in a deserted district of the Territory for a long time.
Oh, this is far more broad. I also like this sort of pep in his step as he's talking. It's kind of more, you know, what?
A new job at a superb private practice in North Square near the Duke Street Tower.
Tower. Yeah, it's a little bit more broad, this one, hey.
Checked herself in the mirror and washed her face in a hurry. Then she put on a plain yellow dress.
He starts the sentence here, and then after a few words, after we get into it, it goes up here and then back down. And I like that. It's like, down.
A fleece jacket.
I want to hear what he sounds like when he's just having a chat, you know, about himself.
I did have a pet. I've had a few dogs. I've had some fish. Little silky terrier called...
Okay, so I can already tell the way he reads a script is different from how he naturally talks. I like how he elongates his vowel sounds a little bit more, like dog.
Misty. I have a dog now called Ollie.
But then other words are far more contained and sort of snap And usually I find that that's one of the differentiators between the English accent and some of the Aussie accents, being Brits kind of snap their words faster. When Maddie is practicing her British accent for a role, she'll ask me, she'll be like, how do you say, Sam, for example? I'll be like, Sam. And she was maybe saying it before like Sam. And I'm like, no, we don't elongate those vowels. We just pep. We just snap them. Sam, can, ram. And we don't really drag them out. But this guy, he kind of snaps a few of them and then elongates others, which I always thought was a bit more Aussie.
The one I have now is the Shih Tzu cross Lapsu. Not really, doesn't really like to walk. It's a tiny dog. I don't live with it anymore. My parents do.
Really cool, because he is a little bit faster, and because this was recorded around 2010 by the sounds of it, it's a bit more of a modern accent. What I will say about it is the Perth accent seems to get through the dialogue a little bit faster than someone in Brisbane, who also does join their words together a little bit more, but kind of drags it out. And not in a bad way, but drags out the vowel sounds, maybe even drags out some of the consonants. So if this is what Perth sounds like, I need to visit immediately. This is so cool. On all my videos, I always get someone really lovely from Perth being like, come visit us in Perth, we'll show you around. I love it. I love that welcoming community sort of feel. Every accent definitely has its unique personality and it has its own heartbeat, and that's why I love making these videos. Australia gets overlooked, and there really are a lot more accents in Australia than people give it credit for. And I think that's a really cool place because it shows how rich the country is and what an exciting place it is to be. I mean, some of these things, you miss them if you don't look for them, but when you go searching for beauty in Australia, you will find it round every corner. And I think that's a good place to end the video. See you in the next one. Now, YouTube thinks you're going to absolutely love this video on screen right now, so go click that. It will probably be your new favorite video. And a huge shout out to everyone who's grabbed the Build Your Adventure merch. This t-shirt has been so soft. I've been doing hikes in it. I absolutely love it. Have an amazing one.